My name is Shelley, and welcome to TheAstroHistorian. This is a channel dedicated to exploring and explaining the lore of sci-fi and space universes, and discussing their impact. Today we'll be looking at the universe of Star Citizen, and talking about the brainchild of a veteran engineer determined to bring alien flair to human ship design, the MISC Reliant. The Reliant story begins back in 2910, with a technology-sharing agreement between Musashi Industrial and Starflight Concern and representatives of the Xi'an Empire. While the specific details of the Xi'an technology offered as part of the deal remain a trade secret, it's likely that, since their deal was reportedly with Aopoa, that the main focus of this trade was for Xi'an thruster technology. Prior to the agreement, MISC had primarily focused on its heavy industry division, also known as MISC High. This was the iconic division responsible for the Endeavor, Starfarer, and the Hull series. This license of alien technology offered MISC a major opportunity to begin developing smaller personal spacecraft. While MISC had been developing their ever-suffering Daedalus racer for almost as long as the company had been around, they had never ventured into the personal ship market before. As a result of this opportunity, MISC supported several internal pilot projects to determine what shape these new spacecraft would take. But one craft, known only as Ship B, stood out amongst the rest due to its passionate project lead. Ship B's project leader, Dr. Rico Norden, had transferred from MISC High after a lengthy career shepherding the Hull C through several major design revisions, likely after the embarrassing failures of the craft in the middle of the 28th century, which cost MISC its stranglehold on the shipping market at the time. Norden was insistent that his design was the superior choice to help the company to stand out from the many new competitors in the arena. Ship B featured a wide, movable flying wing design, while in atmospheric and landing modes. It was also visually tied to its xi'an roots, as when it entered spaceflight mode, the entire ship transformed vertically. All the while, it stabilized the crew and cargo bay while moving the ship around them. Norden argued that the ship's unique design would allow it to maximize cargo storage while permitting the use of smaller landing pads. He went so far as to argue that it could even rely on traditional flight aerodynamics during emergencies when in atmospheric mode. Norden campaigned ceaselessly for his selection, calling in every favor he had earned in his long career as one of the company's senior engineers. Unfortunately for him, his campaign was ultimately a failure. In the end, the executives decided to go for the more traditional freelancer as their new entry into the personal spaceflight market. The more traditional look of the ship allowed it to benefit from the Xi'an technology without scaring the public. MISC intended to slowly ease the use of Xi'an technology and design mechanics into the human sphere, rather than rush ahead with a potentially off-putting alien design language. As a result, Ship B never stood a chance. Feeling humiliated with his failure to convince supporters of the value behind his design, Norden chose to transfer back to MISC High rather than work on the competing design. After another failed attempt to revive the wing design on a larger scale, he retired the following year, leaving the dream of transforming wing to sit in MISC's archives. Meanwhile, the technology lease agreement with the Xi'an had continued successfully. There was a steady call for heavy industrial ships, and the Freelancer had been established as a trusted spacecraft for hauling, exploration, and more. With a steady flow of capital, the company had a newfound desire to further encroach on RSI's everyday spacecraft, the Aurora, and the other new contenders in the starter spacecraft scene. MISC decided that the climate had changed over the last 20 years, and there might be a call for spacecraft that stood out and embraced alien design elements. Thus, working from the original Ship B development work, the newly titled Reliant team developed a smaller version of the original flying wing freighter intended to appeal to independent pilots just starting their careers. Though an unusual silhouette, The design was extremely modular, with the development of 4 different variants happening almost simultaneously. The Reliant program began in 2942. Initial development proceeded rapidly thanks to existing work on aerodynamics and the results from early jump tunnel studies for Ship B. Because MISC's deal with the xi'an government had continued to expand over the preceding 2 decades, more xi'an technology found its way into the revitalized Ship B, now known as the Reliant. The process was surprisingly flawless for a ship that would have multiple flight modes and such a wide variety of intended roles, with development only slowing due to a limited number of teething issues with the flight mode transitions. These were eventually resolved in 2944, with the first prototype successfully leaving the atmosphere in April of 2945. The Reliant had its formal reveal later that year, with the guest of honor being Dr. Norden, who, in his retirement, had been fully unaware that his cherished vision of a wing-based freighter was finally coming to fruition. Tears in his eyes, Norden witnessed in awe as the descendant of Ship B came into view. Though there are many variants, all of the Reliants have the same basic specs, with a length of 14.5 meters and a landed width of 28.5 meters and a landed height of 4.5 meters. They all support xi'an-inspired omnidirectional thrusters and use advanced xi'an metal composites to make up the armored wingspan. It also came with a unique size 4 utility mount, which could be swapped for a variety of specialty options depending on the variant. Lastly, they all supported a crew of 2, making it a unique entry into the starter ship market. At launch, the base version was known as the Kore, which swapped the size 4 utility mount for an additional 2 size 2 gimbaled weapons, and turned the back area of the ship into a single large cargo bay capable of holding up to 6 SCU of cargo. The combat variant known as the Tana took the size 4 utility mount and added 2 additional size 3 gimbals, and converted the cargo bay into living quarters complete with weapon racks. The science variant, known as the Sen, replaced the utility mount with a size 4 sensor suite, and the cargo bay became the living quarters and tools to support the specialized sensors. Finally, the unique media variant, known as the Mako, replaced the utility mount with a camera and the cargo bay with both living quarters and a broadcast console. For the Reliant's formal rollout, MISC opted avoiding marketing the xi'an's connections or the similarity between its flight modes and those of the Kar-2-Al. Instead, the company opted to follow in the footsteps of its highly successful Built for Life campaign. To do this, the company wrote off an entire production run of ships and donated them to various companies and professionals, each accompanied by a documentary film crew. 4 Kore haulers were offered to a pair of companies seeking financing for short-term shipping routes. A pair of Makos were donated to the top 2 major broadcasters on Terra. A Sen was dispatched as part of a solar corona survey expedition, and a half squadron of Tana was given to a group of colonists preparing to settle a frontier moon. The donated ships made the news wherever they went, and the net impact was impressive, giving the public the sense that these new spacecraft were suddenly everywhere. MISC dealerships were flooded with requests for more information, and the Reliant quickly became the company's most successful original spacecraft launch. By the second model year, the Reliant had settled in as one of the company's most desirable models. No small task for the ship that followed the famed Freelancer. The Reliant remains one of the strangest success stories of modern spaceflight, a hybrid ship which shunned its roots and took a quarter of a century to become a reality. A unique 2-person starter released by a company known for their massive commercial and industrial vehicles. Yet still, this quirky design has captivated many and continues to be competitive in the market to this very day. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, think about liking the video, subscribing for more content, and hitting the bell icon to be notified when these release. I'd also like to thank those on screen now for supporting the channel financially. If you want to throw in a few credits, think about becoming a member on YouTube, and if you want a bit more for your contributions, join the Ko-fi or Patreon. Patreons and Ko-fi members get early, ad-free access to to all videos, including exclusive early access to my long-running complete history of Star Citizen lore series. Check those out now in the top right if you want to know what you're getting. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on the MISC Reliant and any other lore topics in the comments below. And as always, remember, ex Historia ad Astra.